Yeah, but I had to switch screenshots, so it's not anymore.
Oh, well, it was when I was looking at it.
Yeah, I know.
What you mean?
I guess
The second I ended the other meeting.
Yeah.
I'm about to just smack this
Screen.
thing.
maybe it's not. I don't know what's going
I think I fixed it.
on. Okay. Yeah.
You got one?
Okay. I think it should be working in terms of
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Take your seats, please. We'll go ahead and start with the pledge. Please stand and join me if you're willing and able. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. We'll now move into the swearing in of senators and associates. That's you. Go ahead and come to the front, and the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, will administer the oath of office.
You guys can like line up. That was quick.
Oh yeah,
Hi. Okay, please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Kyle Hill,
Do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations set forth
the rules and regulations set forth
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
All right, we'll now move into beginning roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Speaker DeSalvo,
Here.
Speaker Pacesetter Perez.
Here.
Officer Bakari,
Here.
Senator Abunani.
Here.
Associate Senator Osman.
Here.
Chair Bay.
Here.
Senator Barron. Associate Senator Barton,
Present.
Senator Bildo,
Here.
Senator Bouchard,
Here.
Senator Correa,
Here.
Senator Correa,
Present.
Senator Benson,
Here.
Senator Doyle,
Here.
Senator Epperson,
Here.
Senator Gazer, Senator Debreu, Senator Godshall,
Here.
Senator Johnson,
Here.
here, Senator Juarez,
Here.
Senator Kilburn,
Here.
Senator Kramer,
Here.
Senator Laffey,
Here.
Senator Lowe, Senator McCollum,
Here.
Senator Malka,
Present.
Senator Nugent,
Here.
Senator Oker, Senator Pereza,
Here.
Senator Pereira, Senator Reese,
Here.
Chair Ringer,
Here.
Senator Salazar,
Here.
Senator Sanchez,
Here.
Associate Senator Schumer,
Present.
Senator Shetty,
Present.
Senator Sonarkar. I'm so
Sonari
sorry.
good.
I'm
Here.
so sorry. Senator Taylor,
Here.
Senator Thompson, Chair Trout,
Present.
Senator Vega,
Here.
Senator Parker,
Here.
Senator Dees,
Here. Associate Senator.
Senator Ayala,
Here.
is there anyone else that I didn't call?
Yeah, Senator Hill, College of Vet Med and Biomedical Sciences.
Senator Ritter for Native American Cultural Center. Senator Morgan from Native American Cultural Center.
Can you say that again?
Senator Morgan. Senator Ritter.
Associate Senator Melchior.
Associate Senator Daniel Joe, College of Engineering.
Associate Senator Jacobs of College of Liberal Arts.
Senator Schmidt, College of Natural Sciences. Senator McHale, College of Veterinary and Biomedical Sciences.
All right, and for those of you that are new and might not have a placard yet, nothing wrong with taking out a sheet of paper, folding it in half and writing your last name on it. We'll now move into the consent agenda. Is there any dissent? Seeing none, we'll move on to gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, I do believe we did have a guest speaker. No. Okay, yeah, Chief of Staff.
Deputy Director Weiss will be presenting next week. There may have been a miscommunication, but not tonight, probably next week. Thank you.
Cool. So with that, we'll move into executive reports. Is there anyone from the executive branch who wishes to report?
Go ahead and use that handset if you want.
I think I like the desk here.
Okay.
Some stability.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to see all of your faces. My name is Hayden Deason. I am the Chief of Staff, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I think the biggest thing, I'm continuing to roll through with doing one-on-one meetings with all of my staff. My Secretary of State, I almost said my deputy, Secretary of State Waller has been assisting me in that. Additionally, one thing that I am requiring my cabinet to do this year is go to at least one SDPS event per month. And we got about 8 of us at I forgot her name, Lisa something. Anyway, she was a keynote speaker for Latinx Heritage Month. We got to go up in Canvas Stadium in the box where all the rich alumni get to sit and watch football games, and that was really fun. I learned a lot, and I really suggest all of you try and do the same. It's more out of your own volition, but you know, I canceled cabinet last week so that people would have more time to go to some of these SDPS events, and you know, having been there, I'm glad that I was able to see so many people. I think that's the biggest thing. Other than that, I'm going to continue ensuring that weekly reports get sent out. One of the biggest things that's happened in the past week is the Director of Traditions and Programs resigned. And so we are currently looking for a new Director of Traditions and Programs. Secretary of State Waller has picked up where he left off, our previous director, and he's taking over tailgating for now. And so if any of you are interested in applying, it's a really, really awesome job where you get to be super involved in just about everything on campus. You know, they help support the drag show in the spring, tailgating here in the fall. You know, it's a very big position. And so if you're interested in applying, absolutely do. The application is on Handshake, and that closes on Friday. Am I forgetting anything?
It's paid.
Oh, yes, it's a paid position. And a lot of people seem to think these paid positions are ones where you have to be able to do work study, but that's not the case. So yeah, I really look forward to seeing your applications. I think it would be rad if we got as many as possible. So that's it. I yield my time. Thank you.
Does this work? Okay. Does it? It does. Wow, look at that. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all in Senate again. I'm so happy to be here. Once again, I'm your Secretary of State, and I'm also your Director of Traditions right now for the time being. As Hayden said, our Director of Traditions has resigned from the role. So we do have applications open, just to reiterate that. Be aware that it is a lot of work. The only reason I bring that up is because one of the main reasons our previous director resigned was because he underestimated the workload that came with the job. I mean, you are event planning for pretty big events like tailgating. We're drawing thousands of people into these tailgating events. So you are watching for, or you're planning for all those people to be there. But I will be helping whoever our new director is for the tailgating initially, just to help them get their feet off the ground here and get moving pretty well. So if you're interested in that position, please, once again, apply to that position before or by Friday, because it does close on Friday, and then we'll be having interviews, and then we will be hiring the Director of Traditions, the new one, anyway. And then on that, I just have an announcement about tailgating. Our next home game is this Saturday, so we will be having a tailgating event. That's right, it's going to be great. So I'll be passing around a sign-up sheet once again through Senate to see if anyone would like to volunteer to help tailgating. I'd appreciate it if you all did because it is a lot of work and I need all the help I can get. So whoever signs up, thank you so much. It'll be Saturday. We'll be working. The times will be, I'll get there at 8, but if my staff wants to show up at like 9 or 10 a.m.-ish, that's fine. But we'll be setting up, we'll be chalking, and then we'll be directing people to their spots on the actual tailgating event. And then we'll just be policing the area, kind of just making sure everything's going well for the event, that no one's getting too crazy, etc. So yeah, it's gonna be great. I look forward to seeing all of you if you sign up. So that's all I got. Thank you for your time, Senate.
All right. Hey, y'all. My name is Elijah Sandoval. For those of you who don't know me, I'm serving this year as your vice president. My pronouns are she and they, so I use either. So my report is going to be short, sweet, and simple. We have the SFRB applications is still open. That will close this week, just so I can get through interviews and everything. The interviews are very simple. It's just hey, can you commit to SFRB on this date at this time? And then just answering any questions you have about SFRB. We have a couple grad students, which I'm so excited about. So thank you, Derek, for doing that and helping out with that. And thank you to the rest of the graduate school council as well. So, and then, so SFRB, it stands for the the Student Fee Review Board. And we are in charge of roughly $60 million in student fees. I know I gave an estimate last time, but I did some more math and I talked to some people, and it's about $60 million in student fees that you can say where it goes, how it's allocated. You get a kind of behind the scenes look on what it does. We do have some members who served on the board last year. If you guys want to raise your hands real quick. Oh, one person and me. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask us. It's a lot of fun. There is food, so that's kind of an incentive as well. And like I said, you kind of get a behind the scenes look on where your student fees are going and how they're being spent. And you also have the say on whether or not they get raised. So that's also pretty cool. Second thing is the Pacesetter Scholarship that will close this week, I believe. That is a scholarship that is $4,500, and it's divided equally amongst the recipients. So there's going to be about 2 to 3 recipients. Haven't quite decided yet. Depends on how many applications I get in. And that's just a way to help pay for your schooling. And another cool thing about that is you get to be presented during the homecoming football game on the field. So that's also pretty cool. That closes this week. Both of the applications are found in the Slack channel and the inter-branch communication channel, and then also in the weekly email that has been sent out. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Derek Newegar. I'm a grad student and I handle graduate affairs or director of grad affairs. Incidentally, that position is mirrored. So I'm also the president of the grad student council. And, you know, we have our own team of 3 other people. And what we have, we're told last year, what we should do is focus on more socials, because grad students have a very challenging time of becoming social. We want to change that. And 2 would be any sort of way of increasing grad student compensation, because, well, after going through undergrad, you don't really want to pay thousands more dollars again. So we understand that. We're trying to combat that. We want to raise awareness on grad student representation. So much like the Senate, we want everyone from all sorts of departments to actually intermingle and talk to each other. And we've had 3 social events this year so far. We plan to do more. And that's about it. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Senate. I will try to keep this brief. So Colorado Student Government Coalition met last week. I met with student government leaders across the state. And we talked about the possibility of university classes being canceled on elections day. Fortunately, not this elections day. It would be in 2024. Moving on, lift codes. I spoke with Lindsay Mason today, the director of off-campus life, regarding Ramride and Lyft partnership that's currently underway. Ramride is currently going through a lot of legal troubles right now, considering that there's a problem with how drivers are vetted and how they are given the correct credentials so that they're appropriate drivers. So they'll be scaling back on that a lot and focusing more on Lyft, which is in the pilot phases already. From a recent analyst, there was 30 to 50 codes being used out of 100 each Thursday night. Those codes aren't going to waste; they're being rolled over to the next week. But there's hope that with future advertisements, that they'll be used more often. And then also on top of that, I will be working on a bill along with Officer Bukhari regarding funding for the bill, regarding funding for Lyft continuing into the spring semester, because they only have funding for the fall semester. So if you're interested in collaborating or have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Moving on, Dance Marathon is next Wednesday. Dance Marathon is hosting a kickoff event starting at 6:30. I spoke with Speaker DeSalvo, and he's going to get y'all's input on whether or not y'all think Senate should be pushed back. But moving on, I met with Christian, the previous ASCSU senator, last week regarding some of his projects that still need to be continued. We prioritized the Vision Zero project, which basically is a priority to ensure that there's zero casualties in Fort Collins and even broader in the United States related to traffic-related casualties and fatalities. So that was our agreed upon priority for the out of that meeting. Then we also went with over the Student Memorial Project along with Director Burge. And challenges have been seen in that project, particularly in the art community. So we're navigating those right now. Tomorrow I'll be meeting with Utah State University President or Student Government Association President Clara Alder. So Utah State University Student Government is coming here October 14th and 15th for the football game at that time, and they want to collaborate with us and probably get a tour of the space. And they also offered to take us out to lunch, which is fairly nice of them. This next Monday, I'll be in the Master Plan Committee, which oversees updates regarding all facets of the CSU community. So like parking, transportation, stormwater. So if you have any questions or concerns you want brought up, feel free to email me and I'll bring them up. And then also CSU PD and Fort Collins PD are interested in coming into a Senate possibly to host a community gathering or community questioning. So I'll be in talks with Speaker DeSalvo again about that, see if y'all will be interested as well. And then also as Secretary Waller said, we unfortunately had a resignation in the executive cabinet. Jose Zermeno resigned on Thursday. But applications for that role are due at midnight on Friday. So if you or anyone that would be a good fit for the role, just let them know. It's due on Friday. And then finally, we have a tailgate this Saturday. And I think the sign-up sheet is going around, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll admit, I've messed up here fairly recently with these reports. I don't know if you know or not, but I've acted fairly immature in this space. I've broken this space trust. And that's on me. I'm not going to deny that. That's all on me. I've hurt individuals in this space. It's not right. I've I violated their trust. Two, I've broken this space trust. And I just, I'm really sorry right now. I only asked for one thing. I asked for this space to give me another chance. And I promise that I will never break this space's trust again. So regarding that, I apologize to any individuals who were hurt. And yeah, that's my report, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
It seems as though the executive branch is done. Judicial reports. It appears Chief Justice Zacharias has a report.
Hey everyone, I'm just gonna keep this pretty brief. Passion projects have started for the court, so we're working a lot with voter registration, restarting coffee with the courts, marketing, pilot programs that are available to all students within, not even just students, but all residents of Fort Collins, based off the Fort Collins board. And personally, I am working with the University of Illinois at Chicago to hopefully have them set up their own judicial branch within their own student government on their premises. And with that, that's my entire judicial report. I yield.
Thank you, Chief Justice. With that, we'll move into confidence business. Since we do not have a parliamentarian at the moment, I'll put 2 hours on a confidence clock. All right. So we have, of course, the parliamentarian seat vacated. So at this moment, I'll accept self-nominations or nominations for others you want to see as parliamentarian at this time. Please.
I nominate Kyle Henry.
Kyle, you've been nominated for parliamentarian. Do you accept?
I do not accept, but I thank you for the nomination.
Anyone else? Please. Oh, I see Ben. I nominate Ben Torres Doxy as parliamentarian. Yeah, okay. I tried. Yeah, Senator Vale.
I nominate Larissa Correa as parliamentarian.
Senator Correa, do you accept?
No.
May I remind you, these are paid positions. So those of you that are sitting down right now for free, can get some change thrown your way. Please. This was an unexpected turn of events. Yeah, Chief of Staff Decent.
Would it maybe be helpful if we talked about what parliamentarian does and what their responsibilities are and how cool it is to be a parliamentarian? Maybe where they are in the line of succession to speaker, that kind of thing.
All right, so just generally, the parliamentarian sits on legislative cabinet, so you'll go from there to here. And essentially what you do, you're basically the middle person in between legislation. You sit right here, you kind of control the computer, make sure that Zoom's working, and I guess you work with people who are maybe interested in crafting legislation as well. The parliamentarian understands the bylaws and the Constitution. The ASCSU parliamentarian is responsible for facilitating the legislative process. Parliamentarian will also oversee technology use by Senate during Senate sessions. It is extremely important that the parliamentarian is exceptionally familiar with Robert's Rules of Order. The parliamentarian will also assist the Speaker pro tempore in general administrative duties such as maintaining the website information, placards for sessions, etc. The parliamentarian shall strive to be outreach focused, especially with the ideal of serving and supporting students who may not typically engage with student government or its resources. And the pay, drum roll please, $3,582. Yeah. Senator Gottschall.
Would you mind speaking to like time commitments and experience needed, stuff like that?
Oh, so as far as experience, it really doesn't matter how long you've been in this space, in this environment. For reference, this is my first year in the Senate, so it's doable. As far as a time commitment per week, it's 10 hours. Does that answer your question, or at least part of it?
Point of clarification, if you want some more of the job description, it is in the weekly email under the 52nd Senate job description. So if you want a little bit more detail on that, the email has the accurate to committee changes. That's all.
You're good? Okay. Senator Melka.
I would like to nominate Senator Summer Ricard for this role of parliamentarian.
Senator Sonarikar, do you accept the nomination?
Thank you, Senator Marka. I do accept.
All right. I know everybody's jumping at the chance to be parliamentarian. Is there anyone else?
Also, it really wouldn't be trial by fire because we're both here to facilitate that assistance. If any of y'all are STEM majors, any computer science people in here, we would have loved you up there.
All right. So with that being said, I'll have candidate now, Sonarikar, come up here and present on why she'd like to be parliamentarian. We'll go from there.
Was my hero.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Vaishnavi Sonarikar. I am a grad student. I study masters in computer information systems at the College of Business. This is my third semester, and this is my first semester or year at Ascsu. I'm the Senator for International Programs. I wanted to run for the parliamentarian position, but I was not sure if I could commit time because I commute to Denver 3 days for my internship. But if it is 10 hours, I would definitely like to do it. I'm involved in CSU and Fort Collins community. I'm the president for Global Ambassador Student Program. I'm a director of communications for the Indian Student Association. I'm a graduate student representative for the Faculty Council for libraries. And there are several other positions I have held in past. I have been an involvement advisor with SLICE, which has been a very enriching experience. So I am very much involved in CSU and the Fort Collins community. And the reason I would like to be a parliamentarian is that I would like to see how legislation is processed at ASCSU. My personal traits are I'm very sincere and dedicated. I have a good sense of time commitment. I color code my calendar and everything, and I don't generally miss out on things. If I do miss out, I make sure that I make time for it during the rest of the week. Well, that's all about me. If you have any questions for me, I would like to answer them. This was very unexpected, so I'm sorry for messing up with the speech.
Thank you, Senator. Pretty killer for on the fly, I might say. We'll open up a 10-minute period of Q&A, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Trout.
Good evening. Really excited to have you up there. So I just have a couple questions for you. Have you briefly been able to go through the job descriptions of the parliamentarian? How would you judge your understanding of that job description and why you believe you're most qualified for it? Just to recap.
Well, I have read it twice or thrice and I have heard it here. I believe I do understand it pretty well, but I would like to talk more about that to the executive and the legislative and the judicial department so that I get to know about my role the most. As far as why I'm a suitable candidate for that role, as I said, I'm very sincere and dedicated. I'm a research-oriented person, so I like to deep dive into things to get to know more about that. I believe, yeah, that's why I'm qualified.
Awesome. Incredible answers to someone who's decided to get on the spot. Really exciting. How do you plan to balance work, if you have outside work, ASCSU, as well as school?
Well, as far as my work is concerned, I travel to Denver for 3 days. During my travel, I do focus on other things like the school and the commitments that I have made to other people. I plan out everything. I color code my calendar, so I normally don't miss out on things. And I'm an early bird, so I rise up early in the morning. That gives me a lot of time to focus on everything I'm involved with.
Awesome. And just one more question. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU's initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I'm a very empathetic person, so empathy is a very strong quality of mine. I believe that answers most of the questions because being empathetic to others, being respectful to others, being mindful of what you say, what you do, what you imply through your body language makes you uphold the diversity, equity, and inclusion principles of CSU. And I respect them a lot.
And I just have one more question by Chair AD, who had to step out for a little bit. So as parliamentarian, you get to deal with all the legislation, making sure that it gets to places, as well as sometimes chairing conference committee, which is the two committees bringing their changes that they may have made and ensuring that it all gets onto a document. How do you plan to ensure that legislation is handled with the care it deserves?
Is your question about documentation?
Yes.
Okay, the first thing, as I said, I'm a research-oriented person, so I would really read everything, the committee bylaws, the constitution, deep and in details, and then I would make sure that everything is up to date by reading and analyzing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Trout. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for applying for this position. I know this is a big role, and I think I have one question for you. Is that understanding that with my experience with dealing with parliamentarians in the past 3 years since I've been in space, is that there's a very high emphasis on understanding Robert's Rules of Order and all these parliamentary procedure and all that. Very, very heavily. And my question here is that do you have any prior experience in legislative bodies that help you develop any understanding of these things that you've practiced?
Well, I was not involved in US legislation or legislation here in the US. This is my first experience being involved with ASCSU. But back in India, I was a part of Chief Minister of Maharashtra's team. So I have worked with him. I have worked with the CMO, the Chief Minister's office, and I know how it goes in India. And there is a lot of difference in US, but I believe the most of the thing, like the core, is same. So yeah, I do have some experience.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, that's my time.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator Melka.
Thank you very much. I feel like you're going to be a great person for this position if it all works out. I always like to ask this, so it makes it easier when we're deciding everything. What personal strengths do you think you'll bring to this role? And what strengths from your personality would you say you bring to this role?
Well, I'm empathetic. I really like to talk to people. I'm very respectful about other people. I'm mindful. I really like to study. I like to read. I like to discuss that with other people. And a few other of my traits are I'm a natural leader, and I like to I like to delve deeper into people's problems and get the things done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Melga. Are there any other questions for this candidate? Senator Doyle, is it Doyle?
How familiar are you with the Senate bylaws and Robert's Rule of Order?
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't yet read the Robert's Rule of Order, but I am familiar with Senate bylaws. But in future, I'm determined to read about it, research and analyze it more.
By that, do you mean Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's a huge document, but I would try to read the relevant parts of it, and I would read the committee bylaws and the Constitution in details. Yeah.
Okay, I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Senator Doyle. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask a question at this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and have you move outside, and then we'll begin a period of discussion and debate.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now enter a 20-minute period of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. All right, I think I saw Senator Melka first.
Alrighty, so I think hopefully we can all agree. I think she's a great candidate for this role. We didn't really have anyone else go for this, so I think that she's great for this. I don't really know if there's much discussion needed for this individual candidate tonight. I'd like to hear what the rest of you think. But yeah, I think she's great for this role, and I think we can move ahead to other things, hopefully. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you. I believe, was that a question, Senator Vega?
I was going to move the previous question.
Okay. All right, there's been a motion.
Second that.
All right. We'll do this by a voice vote. All those in favor of moving to previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Abstentions? All right, this passes unanimously. Chair Trout,
I motion for unanimous consent on this candidate.
is there any dissent to that motion of unanimous consent? Seeing none, this candidate is approved with unanimous consent. Congratulations to our new parliamentarian. We'll have the Deputy Chief Justice administer the oath of office.
All right, I state your name,
I, Vaishnavi Sonarikar,
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
the rules and regulations set forth by the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Can
All
I
right.
go in there?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and have you grab your stuff, and then we'll sit right here.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move into our caucus chair elections. First, we'll start with the women's caucus. So I'll take nominations for others or self-nominations to be the chair of the women's caucus at this time. Chair Trout.
I nominate Associate Senator Schumer as Women's Caucus Chair.
All right, this says I believe, are you a senator now? I believe you're actually a senator. Okay. Senator Schumer.
Then I amend my nomination to be Senator Schumer.
Okay. Senator Schumer, do you accept the nomination?
I accept.
All right. Are there any other nominations or self-nominations for Chair of Women's Caucus? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and have you come up here and present, do the same procedure.
Hello all, my name is Adeline Schumer. I am the Senator for Adult Learners and Veteran Services. I use the she series pronouns, she, hers, and her. I was first interested in this position because I'm still very new to ASCSU, but I do understand that caucuses hold weekly meetings, and I thought that that would be really exciting to get more women into this space, get more people that are excited and wanting to try new things. I am an adult student and I'm also very new to CSU, and I would love to reach out and have a safe and welcoming place for women and people that identify as women. I think that it's extremely important to have all people represented and to feel like you are being represented. I feel like inclusion and diversity is an immensely big deal here at CSU. And I think that with my further, development and my involvement here with ASCSU, that I could possibly be a really, really good candidate for this position. My strengths are I'm extremely good with time management. I also really like speaking with people and like making new friends and new bonds, whether that's just temporary or someone that would like to be in our space with us. That would be super great. I'm very friendly. I like to reach out to those that don't always feel like they have the support that they need. I'm very good at like just reading body language and seeing if somebody is struggling or needs help, like I can be that person of support or just someone friendly to confide in. I am also extremely active. And so I think that being more active in less of a physical way, but more of an emotional way on campus is very important. And so I would like to further that through this caucus chair position. Thank you.
All right, do we have any questions for this candidate? I'll open up a 10-minute period of discussion, debate, of Q&A, I apologize. Senator Laffey.
Thank you, Speaker. So my question is, how have you been involved as a leader in the past?
Thank you. I have been a leader in the past through academics. I try to be on honor roll. I've made the dean's list for the College of Ag. So academically, I have been a leader. I am not afraid to reach out and to help my fellow students if they need academic help, if they need mental stability. I've been that person that you can come to and just really talk to. I have also been in lots of sports and competitive sports, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I did get captain a couple of times, a couple of years in a row, playing soccer. And I was always that one to kind of give like team like pep talks. And so I would be the person that my group of girls or my team would look to kind of get us excited, to get us jazzed up for our next game, our next team dinner, our next event. I was that person that would really rally for everybody else and just kind of get that energy high and be excited. And I think that that's extremely valuable in being a leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Laffey. Chair Trout.
Good evening. Have you read through the job description of caucus chair? There's a difference between the caucus chairs within the job description. So have you been able to go through that? And why do you think you're most qualified for it?
Yes, I have briefly gone through my job description. I have also asked many questions of what is expected of me and what I am supposed to do. I can always reference back to the job description and look over it more in depth, which I plan to do. I feel as though I have a good understanding of what my ability is and what my expectation is at this time. And I also understand that the caucus position is kind of, I can run it as I want. And so if I want to do a lot, I can. And if I don't, then it's kind of my choice. And I feel really comfortable with that, kind of starting out new, but also kind of jumping in full swing.
Awesome. How do you plan to balance ASCSU school and, if applicable, work outside of this space?
Thanks for that question. I've been practicing time management. It's been an ongoing skill that I've been trying to develop. I have a slightly easy course load right now. I am a full-time student, but I also have a lot of free time outside of my studio sessions. So I believe that, like, for Wednesdays, for example, I have for Senate and for all meetings that I can, but I also have lots of time outside of school and homework and personal life that I feel like I can better help, like better allocate my time for extracurricular activities.
Awesome. Those are all the questions I had. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Morgan.
Hi, I was a Women's Caucus chair last year, and one of the main problems is just attendance. So just, what are some ideas that you have right now, to kind of increase attendance at Women's Caucus?
I think incentives are a really good way to get attendance. I also think the change of location would be nice, constantly having to come to the same place and be in a more controlled environment is a little bit harder for some people. So one thing I plan to do would be to reach out to my fellow women and people that identify as a woman, see what their schedule is, what we can do to kind of match up our schedules, and then hold it in a more relaxed place. I know that women tend to like tea and coffee and more social aspects. And so if we could meet possibly in one of the cafe areas, or if we could meet in the lunch area in the LSC, or just somewhere where everybody feels comfortable and also like valued at the same time.
Okay, thanks. I yield.
Next, we had Associate Senator Barton.
All right, let's say that issues arise among the team. How do you as a leader intend to fix those conflicts?
Thank you for your question. I think that conflicts are something that we can't avoid. And a really good way to work with everyone would be respect. And you have to first respect your peers so that you can find a mutual ground. Again, it's something that you can't really stop or foresee. And if you have a cool, calm, collected, respectful way to approach everybody's opinion, everybody's beliefs, then you'll be able to kind of come to this like mutual ground. I kind of pride myself with being like very calm, very understanding. I'm not hot-headed. So I do love to listen. Like if you just tell me what's going on, if you feel as if you need to pull me aside and let me know if you have a personal conflict or if it's a team conflict, like it's going to happen. And I'm understanding of that. And I would just say like, please talk to me about that. And I will always respect you. Thank you.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you. I yield.
Senator McCall.
I have also been a Women's Caucus chair before and also understand the attendance issues. I also think that an important part of the Women's Caucus is just gender in general. And I was wondering if you had any ideas about how you will support people with other identities than female or women, like non-binary people, trans people, etc.
Thank you for your question. I currently have a non-binary roommate, and so it has been a bumpy transition to not call them she. I do respect her immensely. I am still learning about the different identities and the way that people present themselves. And I think that if say a trans woman wants to join and they identify as a woman, I think that that's great. And although it's not like who you're born, it's who you want to be. And I think it's important that we accept the people as they are and not as a past self or as someone that they don't necessarily want to be. I think that all representation can be good representation if we have a strong leader and somebody that's respectful. And so bringing in people from differing identities, differing places of being, like age or state, whether they moved out of town or if they came back. Yeah, I think representation is a really good way. And if they feel comfortable enough coming to me, then I will feel comfortable enough supporting them and representing them.
Thank you. I yield.
So to kind of do kind of information, as I wasn't entirely here for the explanation of Women's Caucus. Women's Caucus is open to everyone. So your answer has been awesome, but just so you're aware, it's an everyone caucus, it's not a women only caucus.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for this candidate? Seeing none, I would ask the candidate to leave the room and we'll enter a 20-minute period of discussion and debate. All right. Starting with the first raised placard. Senator McCall.
I think that there should be space for everybody entering into a new position to learn. I think it's a little bit clear that this person has a lot to learn, and as for representing identities that they don't fully understand, which is a part of the job description in Women's Caucus, I'm slightly worried about their ability to really be inclusive in that position. However, I think that this candidate has very good intentions and has potential to do a really good job with the right support. So,
Do you yield, Senator McCall? Thank you. Senator Mocha.
So I would just like to make a point that, if with new positions, people need to have the time to learn. So, if you got to always rely on experience, you're going to miss out on some really amazing candidates. I think this candidate is one of those candidates. I can feel the energy when this candidate speaks and this candidate presents themselves. So, that's pretty much the point I'm making. And I would like to move to previous question.
Second that.
All right, there's been a second to previous question. I'll do this by a placard vote. So all those in favor of moving to previous question, ending discussion and debate, raise your placard. Okay. All those opposed? Abstentions?
So if you didn't vote, please raise your placards for an accurate vote count.
I believe that's
Thank you.
27. So with a vote of 27 to 0 to 6, the period of discussion debate is over. At this time, we'll move into a vote. Senator Hill.
Motion to ratify this candidate through unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to the motion to ratify this candidate with unanimous consent?
I dissent.
Okay, there is dissent. So now I'll entertain a motion to, I guess, go into, no, we just automatically go into vote, my bad. We'll do this by secret ballot since it wasn't unanimous consent. As a reminder, if you're an associate senator, this is something you don't vote on.
Point of information, if you do not support, a candidate, and if there's only a person, can you write no confidence? How does that work into there?
Yeah, so essentially that would be a no confidence vote, and the candidate would get a no confidence vote, and then we'd have to redo the election for a caucus chair on a later date.
I mean, to clarify, if you have no confidence in this candidate, you just say no because there's only one candidate on the stage.
Right.
Thank you.
So I guess to clarify, since there is one candidate for the secret ballot vote, either put yes, no, ABS, or if you have no confidence, put no confidence, if you want it to be a no confidence vote. Thank you for appreciate that.
ABS or
Yeah, if I handed you a secret ballot and you're an associate senator, you cannot vote. Yes,
Yeah.
if your senator isn't here, then you can vote.
And since it's a secret, fold it so that we don't see how you're voting. Yeah. I think one of them was Senator Godshaw, wherever he represented.
Two seconds left. Yeah. Scott Thompson.
What did she do? I guess. Sorry, I should have kind of explained. The people on Zoom really don't know how many there are.
if everyone could do me a favor and just put them at the end of their rows and I'll come.
Okay, so Rob's the only one on Zoom, so you don't have to worry about votes, trying to see votes and then looking. So essentially what you'll just do now is just scroll down. But typically when there's somebody on Zoom, you'll count the Zoom votes.
Mr. Speaker, I moved for a 10-minute break while counting is happening.
Seconded.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of having a 10-minute recess while votes are being counted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I will see you all back here at 8:20.
Do we? Or? She's allowed to be her. She knows that we're not just still deliberating for 10 minutes.
So now so we have to
What happens when more senators leave session than
Then they will just get like the college. Yeah, it's kind of like a, we're a rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, it's not like
No, there's the line.
I got
I understand. Do it again.
Exactly. Yeah, like here's
I was definitely shocked at that point. I don't like how we try to do this. Yes, it's really good. I don't know. Yes.
I know.
Someone doesn't like
Oh my gosh, yes, 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 yes.
Or what I can do is
that's why I want to do but it's just frowned upon. And all this which for a customer is going to be a lot. just know how Pacesetter which ones the formatting is. He is, but he's on the second with text too. If you want some better names, ask him with, to connect him with, connect her with Kevin.
He's on a boat.
Yeah, I
in the middle
know.
of the
Yeah, so when do you think he'll be able to like?
He's fully. He's like.
I know, but I just to show her.
Yeah, like
Just to give her a slight rundown on qualification. So he's not going to fly there. But he'll be able to help us with us.
Yeah, I feel like some of that is about me. I can't talk about me and the person. Secret reason. One more minute.
Yeah, I need to go finish that.
I don't think you signed her. She's a senior this year. Yeah. You should have mentioned it. You want to go gather the troops out there, Kim?
I'm gonna go grab people from the office.
All right, Kim's doing that. Okay, so you're good.
All right. If I could ever have everybody move back to their seats, please.
Good portrait. Just stand up, stand up. From Massachusetts.
All right. you hand me the sheet, please? So with a vote to 21 to 10 to 8, this candidate is ratified as the Women's Caucus Chair.
That door's locked.
Well, she knows.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, now we can.
So what we'll do is we'll swear both the caucus chairs in at the same time. So you go ahead and sit down. So with that being said, we have one more caucus to go, the Diversity and Inclusion Caucus. I'll take self-nominations and nominations at this time. Charity. Senator Salazar, do you accept?
I accept.
Okay. Are there any nominations or self-nominations at this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and have you come up here and present.
Hello. I'm so sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Adrian Salazar. I am the Pride Resource Senator. I use he, him, ella pronouns, and I am a business major with a wrong major. Supply chain management concentration with a minor in ethnic studies. Was not really prepared for this nomination, but I do think I would fit really well into it because I do like to promote a lot of diversity and inclusive atmospheres in my life. At the Pride Resource Center, I am a mentor for all my mentees. All different identities, different intersecting. And I like to promote everything. With my ethics studies minor, I like to think that I do see a lot of diversity and inclusion, especially because I am a firm believer that all history deserves to be taught and all history has a right to be included into American history because you can't have one history without the other. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. So.
Thank you, candidate Salazar. Are there any questions? I'll open up 10 minutes, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Vega.
Have you read the job description?
I have not, but I make that a strong responsibility for me to do after Senate today.
Thank you, Senator Laffey.
Hello, very nice to meet you. So what leadership positions have you held in the past that you think would contribute to this?
So my current role as a Pride mentor, I kind of like help my mentors and mentees. I have like 3 other mentors that I help in guiding resources for mentees. Most of our mentees we see are trans identifying, non-binary, and queer, and all that such. I really try to promote a good atmosphere and all that stuff. And I like to sit down on one-on-ones and just chat and see what I can do to provide them with the right assistance for them to pass it on to their mentees as well.
Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Chair Trout.
Good evening. Very excited to see you up there, my friend. I think this question is pretty appropriate. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU's initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think that in a society that's ever so growing with different identities, it's important to educate and create a progressive atmosphere for students, especially in my experiences with CSU. I felt like there's a little lacking with some diversity and inclusion. So I really would like to promote different initiatives or different resources for students of marginalized communities. So yeah.
Awesome. How do you plan to balance work, ASCSU, and school?
Cool, perfect. So in my schedule right now, I have huge gaps in my like days from like 11 all the way to like 3. So I definitely would like to fill those in, and I think it would be a learning experience and a great opportunity to do that with the diversity and inclusion caucus.
Awesome. Last question, how are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
I think that most of it would come from me going into like atmosphere willing to be educated and learn on different experiences that I obviously don't have or don't fit into my identity. And I think it's very important that I am able to learn about different experiences and identities, because I feel like that makes a more progressive person. And that's stuff. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Morgan.
Hi, sorry to put you on the spot because you're not prepared for this. But as chair, what are kind of some ideas that you have? Like how, like some goals that you would set or kind of how you would run your meetings? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I think it's very important to connect with the SCPS offices, especially obviously because it's diversity and inclusion. So I would want to promote like different sessions where I sit down and talk to all the senators about what they would like to change or what they need to expand upon, stuff like that.
Okay, that's all I have. I yield. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Mocha.
My question was basically just answered, so Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you. And for those of you who are new and don't know what that was a yield to redundancy. If you had a question that was just answered, that's what you do, Chair. Sorry, Senator Ritter.
Senator Ritter now. Hi, sorry. I'm Senator Ritter. I served as the chair for D&I caucus last year. And so basically I was gonna ask the same thing that not Chair Morgan, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. Senator Morgan kind of asked. So last year we had kind of some like, I don't know, I like to hold, oh my God, I can't English. I love to hold that space for senators and associates and other members, part of the ACSU, for a safe space for anyone to talk about anything. And so like, basically I would always like send out agendas or ask for any input of like what they would want to talk about at our meetings and things like that. So something, for example, is whenever elections were like in season, we kind of discussed having some of all of the candidates come into the caucus and discuss like what their works are and, you know, how they plan to make it a more diverse and equitable space for the university and what their goals were for the year. And so, you know, kind of things like that, I held that space for. So I don't know if you like had any ideas of like, you know, maybe like that kind of thing. If, I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, if there is any experience that like you've had in the past of like, yeah, I guess motivations of something that you've had or you currently do have in like diversity and inclusion. I don't know if you've had any experiences and things like that, and if you're going to take that into account and like if that's something you would consider or bringing into the space as well, or you know what kind of your motives are for the year. I'm sorry, that was a really broad question. Let me know if I need to clarify.
No, you're good. I'll try my best. But I think it's really important to like set those agendas and make sure like I am on a communication basis with all the people that come into the caucus and all the senators that I would gladly listen to. I do think it's important to obviously engage and make sure I am held accountable in that position and make a more equitable and like diverse environment as well.
Sure. Another question was, so besides me being chair for D&I caucus last year, I've been involved with this caucus for the past 2 years. So before that, Diego Tovar was the chair for this caucus. And so I kind of worked with him and learned from his experience as well. And, you know, sometimes we had situations where there were some, how do I put this? People that came in with not so great intentions to bring into the space. And so sometimes we would, you know, kind of manage that in a way where, you know, to make it a safe space for everyone, just because we tried to maintain that all the time. And so I wondered if you like had any ideas of like,
how you would manage that and like how you plan to like kind of work around that and, to kind of like create like a safe environment and like a good space for everybody.
Yeah, so I definitely would like to facilitate this conversation to make sure everyone's on the same page. And if something does get out of sorts, kind of directing conversation into a different maybe subject or calling like little breathers, because definitely it's easy to get stressed out in different situations. I have worked with conflict resolution and gotten trained on that. So I do know that I can provide a good little session that is based on facilitating a good conversation and able to direct a right response to I'm like spacing the word right now. It's like the dialogue.
And I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much. I yield.
Thank you. And we are at the 9-minute 40-second mark, and we do have one more speaker. So at this point, I would entertain a motion. Do we have 2 more speakers or? Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to exhaust the speakers list.
I motion to exhaust the speakers list.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor of exhausting the speakers list, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Abstentions. This motion passes unanimously. Senator Ayala.
Just a quick question to like elaborate on one of the previous senators. I just wanted to know how you like create an affirming space on campus for students of like minority and make them feel included, since you will most likely become the diversity and inclusion caucus chair. And that's my question.
I definitely think it comes from my experiences as working for Pride. We don't usually see a lot of minority students come to our center, and we do like to promote and change the atmosphere for our students. And I think that's very important when hopefully I'm going to assume a role that is based off diversity and equity. Diversity and inclusion, I'm so sorry. And I think it's really important. I think I'll base most of my stuff off of my own experiences as a minority. And yeah.
Thank you. I yield my time.
All right, granted that we exhausted the speakers list, we'll now move into period of discussion debate. I'd ask the candidate to leave. And we'll begin that with the first raised placard. Yeah, Senator Morgan.
I think the candidate would be a good choice. I think the only concern he has not read the job description, but with the caucus, it's pretty much straightforward. And I think he is already a senator, so he's pretty much prepared in that. And I think he's very passionate about this role. And again, as it's been said, this is a learning role, and I think he has all the right credentials for us.
Do you yield, Senator Morgan? Sorry.
Yes, I yield.
Thank you. Any other points of discussion and debate on this candidate? Chair Trout.
I make a motion to previous question, and I also make a secondary motion for unanimous consent after we make that first motion.
Okay, there's been a motion to previous question. Is there a second for that motion? Okay, all those in favor of ending the period of discussion and debate, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, this motion passes unanimously. And then the second motion to approve with unanimous consent, is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this candidate is approved with unanimous consent.
Yes, sir.
I state your name.
I, Adeline Schumer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties
and will rightfully perform my duties
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Congrats. We'll now move into old business. This first bill that we're going to hear is actually my bill, the Senate job description, so I'll have to step down as chair.
Yeah. So what I do is I just get I just use the weekly email, and there's a folder that.
The weekly email has the track changes, right?
Yeah. Let me make sure.
As interim parliamentarian, I should probably present it because it's the parliamentarian's job. Parliamentarian.
Sure. Or you could watch the new parliamentarian, whatever you feel like doing.
So.
I would let her do it, but she didn't write the back.
No, like to read it, doesn't she just have to read it? Sure.
No, it's like presentation of the parliamentarian.
Let's see for this one. Very obvious. She's a committee chair with the track changes.
Got it.
No, but I will do this. Okay, Kyle, so I made this conference committee report as the interim parliamentarian. I'm never doing this job again. I am very excited to have a new parliamentarian. But I'm presenting this because I did write this document. I'm gonna take the mouse. Oh, the mouse is there. So- Yeah, I'll probably just take your splat. Sorry. Okay. A lot of things. Sorry to just entirely take you out. Okay. So Conference committee is run very different from those of you who are here for the bylaws. We're just going to briefly go over the changes because every single one of you received this document, so you should have already read it. Each of the committee changes and speaker to establish changes all have different colors. Those are all here. I tried to pick accessible colors. If these colors don't work for you, please alert us so that we can make sure that they're different in another conference committee report. So generally, I think I'm just gonna kind of scroll because again, all of you should have read this. I'm gonna go to things that I think are more major changes. I don't think there are any really grammatical changes or anything in this document though. I will, while I'm scrolling, pass it to Chair Renter though, because there were edits to pay that I don't understand.
Can I just speak from here?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll notice there are some changes to the pay, and those will be reflected in green as we scroll through this document, just at the top of the job descriptions for each section. And those were adjusted to reflect essentially benefit amounts that the university removes. So for example, just say a position says, oh, $2,000 is allocated in the budget for whatever position. In the budget, we'll say ASCSU has $2,000 that they can give to this person. But in the job description, the person is not going to receive that full $2,000 because the university takes off a certain amount of money to go towards benefits such as like health insurance, things like that. And so we just adjusted it so that the student who's reading the job description can see how much money is actually going to them. And that is it.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to Senator and Associate Senator, which were all of the changes. I'm scooting backwards. All of the changes were made exactly the same. So this section was just clarified. No content was actually changed in Internal Affairs Committee. This here was added: if Senator or Associate Senator is unable to attend these specified meetings due to scheduling conflicts, they may fill that hour with one of the options listed below. Again, just clarifying. More clarification stuff. Nothing was changed differently, really, content-wise. All of this changes was made by Speaker DeSalvo in the original document prior to it going to committee. I think a big change that was made in the University Affairs Committee was a lack of completing job duties and hours can result in loss of pay. I'm going to pass that to Chair Trust.
Hi, y'all. So it is kind of vague for a reason because we didn't have a full planned out how this process would work. This is planned to be amended with a future resolution, bill, Lex, some form of legislation to add a little bit more clarification within that. So it is vague for the moment, but that will be subject to change once we further look at that. If you have any other questions, you can ask if you'd like.
So Kevin, to simplify, this doesn't actually mean anything yet. It's just the start of a process and for the future. Moving on. More pay edits. Again, all changes that were made by Speaker DeSalvo, which are all the same. The difference on this one is that the recruitment and retention officer has added to any concerns about attendance because the recruitment and retention officer is in charge of tracking, like making sure people are still in Senate. Moving on, again, all Speaker DeSalvo's edits, original edits. Here's that lack of competing job duties can result in loss of pay. Again, same thing as before. This is all the same. Internal Affairs decided to reject this change from Speaker DeSalvo because it was left in all of the other ones, and so it was put back. Preferred qualifications were added by Speaker DeSalvo. Moving on. Again, loss of completing job duties. I'm not going to mention that one again because we've already talked about it now. And then update governing documents as legislation is passed in conjunction with the Internal Affairs Chair. This is because it's in the Internal Affairs Chair's job description to work on this with the parliamentarian. Again, this is all stuff that is basically already in this person's job descriptions, just actually written down now. No real changes were made to really any of these job descriptions, I don't think, from any of the committees. Preferred qualifications were added to everyone else other than the Speaker Pro Tempore, as Speaker DeSalvo added. And I think they're all generally the same. It's just some helpful things you might need in doing your job. Again, still all the same as it is currently. I'm going to keep scrolling. Someone please speak up if you want to say something about what I'm scrolling past. More preferred qualifications were added. Committee chair. The pay thing. This section was removed in Internal Affairs Committee. Committee chairs are required to attend all committees that mandate their attendance. I think because there was a lot of confusion on what that entirely meant. If anyone who is in my committee would like to speak up on why we did that, I don't entirely remember, but I know that that was in Internal Affairs Committee. Bring that. Okay. Again, all things that are in people's job descriptions or was added elsewhere for the committee chairs. And then I don't think any changes were made to the caucus chairs by anyone. Great, that was it. I yield.
And with that, we're going to enter a 10-minute, I see you, Kyle, a 10-minute period of Q&A, starting with the first raised placard, Senator Hill.
Yes, I have a question on do that. I have a question. I believe under Senator duties, it was stricken out that Senator, I think it was put in there that the senator must work with an executive member for any bill legislation. I think I read that somewhere. Are you able to find that? I think so. Yeah, that's it right there. May I ask the reason for why that was removed?
I'm going to yield to whoever.
That was done in Internal Affairs Committee. That change was removed because it remained from when it was attempted to require senators to reach out to members of the executive branch, required to get endorsements from members of the executive branch. And my committee had a discussion around, sometimes things don't necessarily relate to executive, like our own bylaws. And so that was why that was taken out. We always encourage for people to reach out to members of the executive branch, but this was kind of adding an extra step that made it a little bit more daunting to write legislation for anyone who's new to our space.
And the rest of my time.
Senator Doyle.
So it is to my understanding that this bill is planning on getting a resolution to update it or change it later on. Am I correct in that?
I am also going to yield again to any one of the chairs that knows more information on that. Charity.
That is incorrect. That was for the Senate bylaws, which are a different document and has since passed, and that will be opened again later on, probably in this semester. But this document was originally edited in May by Speaker DeSalvo.
Okay, I yield the rest of my time.
Chair Trump.
Oh, sorry, that was just to do a point of clarification on the seminar thing, but I'm gonna just yield to them and see.
Okay, are there any further questions? And I believe this is on its second reading. Yes, yeah, so it'll just get sent to.
This is not a Lex, it's just a bill, and so it needs to be voted on this evening.
Oh, Chair Rencher, I didn't see.
I just wanted to clarify, I believe the previous question was talking about the job pay reduction aspect, where there will be an update to that eventually by, I'm not sure who's planning on writing that, but I think that's what the question was about.
I was a little bit distracted and only heard the second half. But yeah, that has to be written by anyone in the space who wants to bring back up those topics that we removed in the committee of the whole session. Those were taken out permanently until someone brings that topic back up at a later date. That is still to be written. I will probably write that, but like that's a separate story.
Sweet, are there any further questions? And with that, we're going to enter a 10-minute period of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, so I think that one of my biggest concerns is the removal of the top of page 6, where it said, so initially some background information that 1 year ago when I was, I believe that each speaker does write a new job descriptions per year when we start. 1 year ago, I was the one who added that change that senators must attempt, excuse me, to reach out to members of the executive branch in relation to their legislation. And when I added that in, I made that in an effort to build back unity between our two spaces within ASCSU, two branches. This is my 3 years here in the ASCSU space. I have seen many administrations come and go, both Senate and executive. And there have been, unfortunately, instances where there has been politics and time fighting in between spaces. One of the biggest issues in my experience is lack of communication between the Senate and the executive branch. Collaborating is something I endorse and admire completely. Prior administrations have had problems with collaborating with senators, and a gap between relations with executive and Senate have unfortunately occurred, especially certain more administrations than others. If there is no collaboration, then how can policies get done? ASCSU should be one whole body with one purpose, serving the student body. Our constituents would want to have a unified student government, and bringing any gaps between our government. With 2 years as senator and 1 year as speaker, I have witnessed such divisiveness. How can we prevent this? By allowing and making sure that senators collaborating and find common ground with executive branch to make bills pertaining to the whole student body and not make one more compartmentalized than others, because this will destroy any precedent of unity. And then with that, Madam Speaker, I yield.
Sure, anything.
So this is in response to that exact same section. I firmly believe that this needs to be taken out because this affects the separation of powers between our branches, just like the US government. Executive and Senate are slightly different. Like obviously we send legislation back and forth, but it's not, everything isn't dedicated towards one specific person or one specific branch. By requiring communication with the executive branch, especially when it isn't in the executive branch's job descriptions to work with the Senate, it's going to end up stalling the function of the Senate and make us an in name only branch where we won't get anything done yet again, like we did a lot last year. I'm concerned about the potential hurt of removing changes written by specific people in this. And I think we need to focus primarily on what's going to be best for the Senate rather than authorship of specific edits.
Senator Correa.
So while I do understand that collaboration between branches are required, I do not see it fit for us to mandate senators to collaborate, because then it's no longer collaboration, but it's something that's forced. And has Chair AT said that it is required for the separation of powers, and I think that this particular section should remain as is.
Chair Trump.
Just to add on to that point, senators can go out and speak to the directors, deputy directors, and anyone in the executive branch as they see fit to their project. I'm already in contact with a lot of the directors and deputy directors about some future projects. You don't need a mandate to tell us to do that. Additionally, as stated for separation of powers, we do not need the permission of the executive branch to enact legislation. So I see this as more of a weird power grab for more executive power over legislative, and that's not really how this should be operating. It should be more collaborative. We shouldn't need something that demands senators to collaborate when there isn't anything that demands the executive branch to collaborate with senators. I yield.
Recruitment and retention department.
I had more of a question for Senator Hill. Like the specific language says attempt, and that's very vague as well. So even if it was left in the job description, how it is enacted by senators is really subjective as well. So either adding it or removing it would probably pose no effect because collaboration will happen nonetheless. So I yield.
You said you had a question for me?
Yeah. Sorry, I yield to Senator Hill.
Oh, what exactly was the question? Sorry.
Like even if it was kept, what's enforcing senators to maintain contact with executive, and how would that be enforced?
I think that by getting an endorsement from for each bill that has to be a member from executive branch is probably what was intended to be put on that.
Oh, can I ask another question? Follow-up question, like, doesn't that appear like to be like a bit invasive of the executive branch on legislative, because that limits what bills can be put into this space to begin with?
Do I think, are you asking me if you think it's like invasive executive? I think it.
No, to legislative.
Oh, it's legislative. I think that, obviously, I think also that legislation also needs to put input as well. I think what I'm trying to do here, what I was trying to do here is allow for some more cohesiveness between the two branches to work together on one bill, because, we don't want like a wall that's too much separation of powers. We also want unity. And I believe that one of the biggest problems when reaching out to constituents is a lack of unity. And I think that but by having this kept in, I think that unity can still be established.
I should have my time. Thank you.
Speaker DeSalvo.
So what I will say, regardless of this change, it's always encouraged that if you have a piece of legislation that pertains to maybe a director position in executive cabinet, please work with them and reach out to them, because perhaps they have connections on the administrative level that can really assist you in really narrowing that piece of legislation so that it helps students effectively in the way you want it to. I'm not going to comment necessarily on whether I should think it should be mandated or not, because it's really not my style, but I would encourage everyone in the Senate moving forward, if you do have a piece of legislation that pertains to maybe a department head in the executive branch, please reach out and collaborate, regardless of whether or not it's required. I yield.
Not Chair Ritter, Senator Ritter, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so I think for a point of clarification, like, I think regardless if it was removed or not, like, I don't think it's necessary to be mandated or anything. That's what I get from like the bill, which is what a previous speaker was saying. As it says, must attempt to reach out, but must attempt, but like not have to like get anything signed. I mean, that's just kind of how I read it, but regardless, I don't think that this should be relative to any legislation that we write, just because exec and legislation are two different things. They're two different branches. They do different jobs. And so I don't think there's any necessary reason for any collaboration with the two branches. As like another speaker said before, it's a separation of powers, two different jobs, and it's nothing relative to like what the work that we do here in legislation. So yeah, I think it should be removed. But yeah. Anyways, thanks.
Senator Milka, I will also say that we have 2 minutes left in discussion and debate.
Alrighty, thank you. So with this, I think that it means well, but I do not think it should be a requirement. I think it would be good if we work with executive on things and get assistance from them and help. But at the same time, I don't think that it should be a requirement for us to must attempt to reach out to members of the executive branch. I just don't think that would make sense. It's good, like the heart's there, but at the same time, that's something we can do on our own time. That's something that, I plan on doing, and I kind of already have been doing a little bit. So I think that should be left to the individual to make that decision for themselves. Mrs. Speaker, I yield.
Is there any further question? And with that, we end discussion and debate, and we're going to vote on this piece of legislation to accept.
For first speaker to follow has to accept or reject the changes.
Do you accept these changes?
I'm cool.
Now we're going to vote on this piece of legislation. We're going to do this by a placard vote. Yay.
Point of order, within the second reading, we must do roll call.
I'm not too sure.
Yield to Jerry.
I can give me 30 seconds.
I should know that, but I currently have the job descriptions up on my iPad. So we're going to do this by roll call vote. Will the clerk please call the roll? And when she calls your name, yay, nay, or abstention.
Abstain.
I think Senator Kilburn had a question.
Point of information for associate senators filling in for senators, what would they do here?
You would vote as a traditional senator, only if your senator isn't here.
Senator Abudani.
She's not here.
Associate Senator Aslan.
I don't believe I have voting rights on this bill, as I'm associate senator.
Yes. Chair Athey.
AB, yes.
Associate Senator Barron. Associate Senator Barton.
Did you say associate senators do not have rights?
Only if, well, you have rights as a person. So let me just explain, if you're an associate senator, what this means currently right now in this moment. So you can vote on all things that are procedure. So like I motion to this, I second this. When it comes to voting on pieces of legislation, you can only vote if your senator is not here and you can vote in their place. Does that make sense?
Point of order, can we just call senator names instead, and if they're not present, let their associate senator vote on their behalf, just to streamline the process?
I don't think it'll be that much quicker. I don't think it will, and it's more accountability doing it this way. So I'm gonna say that.
All right, yes, so I will be voting for Senator Thompson. Yes.
Senator Bill Stone.
Yay.
Senator Bouchard.
Yay.
Senator Cordero.
Yay.
Senator Correa.
Aye.
Senator Denson.
Yay.
Senator Doyle.
Yay.
Senator Epperson.
Yay.
Senator Gazer. Senator Gebru. Senator Gottschall. Senator Johnson.
Yay.
I mean, it's like a different. vote.
Senator
Like, I'm the
Juarez.
criminal retention officer, but I'm still senator.
Yay. Senator Kilburn.
I'm also.
Yay.
Senator Kramer.
Yay.
Senator Laffey. Senator Lowe. Senator McCollum.
Yay.
Senator Melton.
Yes.
Senator Nugent.
Newegg, abstention.
Senator Oker. Senator Presa.
Yay.
Senator Reese.
Yay.
Chair Rencher.
Yeah.
Senator Salazar.
Yay.
Senator Sanchez.
Yay.
Associate Senator Schumer.
Yay.
Senator Shetty.
Yeah.
Senator Sonarikar.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh. I lied, I'm sorry.
Senator Taylor.
Yes.
Senator Thompson. Chair Trump.
Aye.
Senator Vega.
Yay.
Senator Parker. Associate Senator Deeds.
Voting in place of Senator Gottschall, yay.
Yeah, I'll just read it now.
Senator Ayala.
Yay.
Yeah, those who were called, yeah.
Any senators that weren't called, would you please raise your hand? Okay, and we'll just go down the line with your name and how you're voting.
Senator Schmidt? Yes.
Senator Morgan, yes.
Senator Ritter.
Yes.
Senator McHale? Yes.
Senator Hill? No.
Is there anyone that I missed?
Voting in place of Senator Gazer, yes.
If y'all would just give me a moment to count these. Alrighty, with a vote of 32 to 1 to 2, this piece of legislation is approved.
All right, we'll now move on to resolution 5202, the diversity, equity, and inclusion resolution. It'll be under DEI res, at the very bottom. Yep. All right, and we'll have Chair Trout to present.
Chair Trout is in office, so just giving his notes to his vice chair to present.
Okay.
You want to exit out navigation? Navigation up there.
Just an FYI, we have 35 minutes left on the conference clock.
Motion to extend the conference class by the hour max, even though I don't think we'll use all of it.
Okay, is there a second for that motion to extend conference clock?
Seconded.
An hour. All right, we'll do this by a placard vote. All those in favor of extending the conference clock an hour, raise them up. All those opposed? And then abstentions? Vote of 16 to 14 to 3, this motion passes. Conference clock to be extended an hour.
Cool, so I'm the vice chair for University Affairs. University Affairs looked at this DI resolution last week and we endorsed it with unanimous consent. The only changes we made were adding endorsements as well as all the deans for the colleges and the interim dean for the graduate school. That's all.
And that is at the bottom of the bill.
All right, we'll move into a Q&A period. Start with the first raised placard. Senator Taylor.
Now, in this piece of legislation, it's cited a few times some legislation in the past that is kind of upholding the like diversity, equity, and inclusion. So why do you think that this is like needed in the Senate to be passed?
Chair Trout.
So just to make sure that I heard the question correctly, it's why is it being stated again, even though it's been cited previously? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Simply put, we wanted to ensure, me and Chair Athy wrote this piece of legislation. And the big reason was just to ensure that is going to be a plan for the 52nd Senate. I don't think that's necessarily harmful in terms of reaffirming that every Senate or so, even though it is in a lot of our governing documents. But I think just reaffirming that we will be conducting ourselves where diversity, equity, inclusion is at the forefront of our operations. So that was the reason why we wrote this piece of legislation. If Chair Athy would like to add on to anything. She said no, so that's all. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and one follow-up question. Why do you think that it is needed to have multiple pieces of legislation to say the same thing?
I think it's necessary because this is a different Senate. This is consisting of far more people than I have ever seen in Senate before. And that means a majority of new people who didn't vote on this previously, who didn't make this commitment previously. And so making the decision for the 52nd Senate, even though we've already made the decision before, says, okay, the people who are here in this Senate are gonna work towards this.
Thank you, I yield.
All right, Senator Vega.
I value reaffirming the opinions of the senators in the 52nd Senate, but it might not be logical if we reaffirm every single thing that's been done in the Senate in the past. I yield.
On most things, I totally agree with any bills we've passed that give us money or anything like that. Those all usually have a time frame of, okay, well, we're gonna use this money by this amount of time, or we're gonna work on this project by this time. And while there isn't necessarily a time frame on this, it can be a good thing to recommit ourselves and just expect that all of the resolutions, because resolutions are commitments to ideas, all of those were decided by previous members, and we are a new Senate, we get to make our own decisions. And so I don't have the end of that sentence, so I'm done with there.
Officer Bakari.
And yeah, just to tag on to that, also like if you scroll onto the bottom, like this, it gets forwarded to all those folks too. So it's not only like reaffirming our values, but also notifying the rest of campus that, hey, we do believe in this stuff and we're gonna continue to uphold the values that we've been having in the past. If that kind of answers your question.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right, and then next we had Senator Morgan.
Yes, and I think also recognizing that ASCSU has historically not been the most inclusive, diverse, and equitable place. And realistically, unless you disagree with DEI, and I don't think anyone should have a problem with this. And then also with CSU's kind of mission being towards DEI, I think it's definitely good to clarify that ASCSU is working on DEI issues. And yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to have it out. I yield.
Thank you. Associate Senator Dietz.
Yeah, so hypothetically, could we add a clause stating that this resolution applies to all future senates to avoid this point of contention, since these ideals are already in CSU's principles of community?
Terry.
While I can see that as a solution for this conversation, I see it as a really important thing for us to reaffirm this decision every year so that everyone who's in here is making that commitment and we aren't just passing by. Like, I don't think anyone in this room has read every single piece of legislation that the Senate has ever passed. And so if we pass this again every year, then we're making sure everyone has seen it, everyone has actively made that decision. Whereas if we pass it once and never need to pass it again, the decision to work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to get pushed to the wayside and forgotten about.
So just a follow-up question. You don't think that that being in the CSU principles of community and the ASCSU being an integral part of CSU simply implies that we would work towards that as an organization?
I don't, because of the history of this organization and its historically extremely problematic space that it creates. That is definitely parts of our principal community, and frankly, that kind of means, hey, we're going to pass this because it is our principal community, but it is so often forgotten about in this space, and it becomes a really hostile environment really quickly if we don't actively think about it.
Sure, I yield.
Thank you. Senator Correa, did you have something? No? Okay. Senator Doyle.
So to further clarify the necessity of ratifying this bill, resolutions are for confirming an idea. So if, for example, we've decided to go and state that all future senates would have to agree by this, it would make no sense, because if it was a resolution saying that this senate likes cats over dogs, that means every other senate would have to agree with that, even if they do not actually believe that statement. That is why it is important to consistently ratify these opinions, because it is the opinion of this senate, not the past senate, not the future senate, this senate. I yield the rest of my time.
Also, just a point of order, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all resolutions have a legal tender for just 1 year, so it wouldn't matter if you passed it this time, it wouldn't be applicable to the next Senate. But correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I believe the Constitution says.
Yeah, that's correct. If you wanted to have something like really binding, it would have to be a constitutional amendment. So I hope that answers your question, Senator Correa. Senator Malka, I believe you were next.
Yeah, thank you. So my thing is, I think most people joining into the space would have that in mind, that you want to uphold those values. I definitely did. So my thought would be, what if you made this, now that I know what we just talked about, what if you made this a constitutional amendment that, by joining, you're going to uphold diversity, equity, and inclusion by joining ASCSU in any shape or form? I think that would be a good move. Or even just like going over like a workshop, kind of like we had earlier about this. I think that would be good. This is good, but I think there's a lot more we can do if we could make this a binding thing that goes year to year somehow, and then just do some sort of like class or something like that. I think that's kind of the way we should go heading forward. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Malka. I would like to add, I believe it's somewhere in the oath of office. When you take the oath of office, it already mentions, I think, something along the lines of the principles of community, but that includes social justice, inclusion, the principles, the core principles of CSU. I would also like to keep conversation germane to this piece of legislation as is, unless you're looking to make an amendment and motion for an amendment. Next, we have Senator Morgan.
Yes, just a point of clarification. Yes, we do have principles of community at CSU. However, those are just merely words and just a statement. And with this resolution, we're actively participating and being dedicated to put those words into action. I yield.
All right, Senator Vega.
Based off the information provided by Senator Correa, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Johnson.
Yeah, I also yield.
Senator Taylor.
Now, I get the point that this is something that was passed by a Senate in the past, and this Senate has mostly new people, but doesn't the idea that we haven't actively attempted to take away legislation like this that's been passed in the past, doesn't that mean that we essentially decide to uphold that?
Charity.
I don't think that it does, because we are not making an active choice to continue working on it. And if resolutions don't continue on in future years, then like we don't even have that to continue that decision. But no matter if any part of this legislation has already been passed, like this is one, it's not an exact copy of any of the previous legislation. And two, we need to recommit to this decision every year. Otherwise, this space is going to become really problematic really fast.
And the follow-up question with that is like, just going off of the idea of backing that with each new Senate that we have, don't we have something at least somewhat like this in the Senate bylaws that get passed annually?
There are brief parts of accessibility. There are brief parts of inclusion in the bylaws, sure, but it's not an all-encompassing focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really hard to make any changes in the bylaws, and so sometimes it's better to specifically point out, we are gonna focus on this, and it's separate from the bylaws, and we are just gonna make this decision together, that this is our focus, rather than letting it just be something written somewhere, because frankly, like, I don't think most people in here have read our governing documents or will ever read all of our governing documents, which is valid because there are a lot of documents in there. It's a lot to read. But making our own decision says that we are actively thinking about it. If it's just written somewhere, again, the chance of it getting skipped over is really high, and then we're not focused on it for the Senate.
Thank you. I yield.
All right, we have about 30 seconds left of Q&A. I would entertain a motion to exhaust the speakers list. Someone wants to make that.
I make the motion to extend. Mr. Speaker, I want to make a motion. Motion to exhaust the speakers list.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor of exhausting the speakers list, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay, so with a vote to. What was that?
Motion for a placard vote.
Okay, there's been a motion for a placard vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Because you don't have to vote count, you can just say the ayes won.
Okay, the ayes have it. So we'll exhaust the speakers list. I think next on that list was Senator Jensen.
Yeah, I would just sort of like to repeat what Charity's been saying, that this is an important document for all of us to sort of abide by. I know that the campus and this Senate and everyone sort of prides, or it's very publicly stated that, yes, we pride ourselves on diversity, equity, inclusion, et cetera, where and campus has done a good job of providing those services. But I believe it's important for us as Senate to sort of more so than just, oh, it's in the job descriptions. Yes, I agree to that, to make that sort of effort to say yes, more so than just what's required. And then passing this bill year to year, this resolution year to year also gives each Senate the ability to customize it to however it needs to be customized to fit in with whatever language is being used at the time. Any other differences or things or change in the entire world or things like that. Having this pass year to year allows it to be customized to what the Senate actually holds true and strives to practice. I yield.
Thank you. I would just like to remind senators that we're still in a Q&A period. We haven't entered discussion and debate. So if you have a question, ask that. I think next on that list is Senator Hill.
I yield to redundancy.
All right. Senator Reese.
I'll yield to redundancy until discussion and debate.
Thank you, Senator Correa.
I totally thought this was discussion and debate, so I yield.
And then Chair Trout.
Same thing, I yield to redundancy.
All right, fantastic. So we'll now exit the Q&A portion and we'll enter a 20-minute period of discussion and debate. All right. All right, we'll start with you, Chair Trout.
Yeah.
Keep them up if I haven't motioned it.
I think it's really important to recognize that we as senators for ASCSU have a lot of privilege and a lot of power within this space. We can draft resolutions, we can draft bills that fund projects or don't fund projects. We can make constitutional elections to shape how this organization is faced in the future. I am someone who wants to uphold DEI as much as I can throughout anything. And I think not only is this helpful to not only keep us accountable to ourselves, but have our student constituencies hold us accountable. Saying you passed this resolution at the beginning of the year, if something comes up, why are you not upholding that resolution? And for it to happen every single year, I think just reassures the rest of our student constituencies, as well as the individuals who see us outside of CSU, because people do watch what we do here. And I think that's really important to us to affirm every single year that DEI is a massive priority for this organization and the power and privilege that this space has. And I think recognize that is really important in understanding this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Trout. We'll move on to Senator Reese.
So, everyone can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. The debate is between whether this actually does something or not. People on, I believe, Chair Trout and Chair Athey's side, quote unquote, are saying that we need to do this in order to reaffirm, I believe, and then I believe, Braxton, I know that's your first name. I cannot dance. Dance, apologies. Is saying that we much rather, it'd be better to actually include this in a bill and a lex. I would tend to agree with that, so because a bill and lex would actually do something, whereas this is just words on a paper, which I believe was a point previously made that just because we have it in community guidelines, they're just words on a website. This is simply a words on a piece of paper we're debating. And so if you actually want to do something about DEI, I think we should actually pass a bill. And if you want to include it more in the bylaws and the Constitution, I believe that'd be far more beneficial to the progress of DEI rather than just reaffirming this year after year, because this is people saying, okay, I agree with DEI. Next thing we're doing. This actually has no bearing on solutions being given. I yield.
Thank you. Before we continue, I'll just remind everyone that a resolution is essentially just a statement of this body that says we're committed to something. And that's the purpose that this would serve. As far as the things that are enshrined in the Constitution, DEI is enshrined in the Constitution. I think the point that the authors of this resolution are making is that, you know, it's something we want to formally commit to every single session. So we'll continue on, Senator Correa.
Yes, so just a heads up to everybody, everything that's written in this resolution is already there in section 106 of the Constitution. So it's already there. It is an enforceable thing in the Constitution. So I do believe that this particular resolution is redundant, there is no issue with passing it. Even if we do pass it, we do resolve that we are okay with diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to repeat myself. I do believe it's redundant, but I don't see an issue with passing it.
Do you, Senator Correa?
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
And Chair Athey, is this just to speak or like a point of information? So next we'll move on to Associate Senator Dietz.
Yeah, so I believe it was Senator Trout, correct me if I'm wrong, that said that we have a lot of power over how CSU is shaped. And I totally agree with that. And I think that instead of clogging the system with resolutions that can tend to be redundant, it would be better spent, our time would be better spent actually working on real things that will enact actual action. If that makes any sense. And I, like he just said, I have no problem with passing this. My only concern is that it's redundant and it sets a precedent for redundant resolutions to be put into the system and clog the system for work that could actually constitute action, if that makes any sense. I yield.
I'd like to make a point of order, just to remind the Senate body to use titles like a senator this, and if it's the highest chair, that person also address the speaker only when speaking.
Thank you. We'll move on to Senator Kilburn.
I'd just like to say that I think it's really important that we reaffirm these points as a Senate, and the calling it redundant kind of misses the entire point of it. And that we're kind of just saying, as the 52nd Senate, we hold these values very highly. And because we hold these values highly, in future legislation, we might do more stuff like you've been suggesting. And I think that's a really good idea to continue pushing for this, but I also see no harm in passing a resolution that says we support these values. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Morgan.
Yeah, so part of my thing is redundancy, but I think one point I had was, well, some may seem like, yes, it's in our Constitution. Yes, we know what we signed up for. That's us. You know, the deans of colleges don't read our Constitution. They don't know what values we have. So I think saying this to all those people at the bottom of the resolution again, makes our goal for the year. And also, I think we should just move the previous question because I think we have no problem passing this. And if you want to do more, then do more if you want. This is just the first step. I yield.
I'll second that motion to move the previous question.
Okay, so that would mean that the rest of the people on the speakers list don't get to speak. So we'll vote on that. Move to previous question and discussion and debate, and then we go into voting. So
Information, how many speakers are left on the speakers list?
we have 2 left. Senator Ritter, were you raising your placard to be on the speakers list? Okay, then we have 3 at that point.
Okay, can I amend the motion to exhaust the speakers list, including Senator Ritter's hand?
I'll second that.
Okay, so that motion has been amended. So now the question is, should we exhaust the speakers list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions, this motion passes unanimously. So with that, Senator Morgan, did you yield?
Yes, I yield.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll move on to Chair AD.
I think that redundancy is necessary sometimes. I think the fact that this conversation is even being had proves its necessity. All of the arguments seem to be saying that resolutions are pointless because they don't have any action. And while ordinarily, yeah, I would agree with that. I would always be a proponent of a bill. Resolving the Senate to ideas and motives is extremely important. There are points of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the governing documents, but they are not in any way all encompassing. Resolutions are important to say that we, as the current decision makers of the Senate, are actively making this decision. That is extraordinarily important with all of the isms and white supremacy that occurs within our space. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Juarez.
Thank you. Also, though, we do see a lot of redundancy. I feel like we can never have too much DEI. And especially as a previous speaker said, it's a lot on the motive. And by this also, like if it were to pass and this is getting sent to that long list of individuals from every college, it is important to not only have them view this, but also for us as a Senate to understand that, yes, redundancy, but it's just super important for us to continuously have things like this because like diversity, equity, and inclusion continuously change. And by having this as a, oh goodness, I'm forgetting the word. As a resolution gives us that opportunity to alter it with each next Senate. I don't know. Yeah, I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Ritter, you get the last word.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think this resolution is super important. I think, you know, if we pass this resolution, this is a statement we believe in, words put into action of what our Senate statement is. And these are values that we hold to create DEI in our space in a more welcoming environment. This is what everyone outside of Senate views and like the judgment they make before stepping into ASCSU. So I think this resolution is, you know, really essential for that kind of thing. And, you know, I think in the future, we should do both, like a resolution and a bill to create more equitable spaces for this office. And, you know, if we pass this resolution and we pass a bill, that's something, you know, for a start, how we're going to be active with our statements of this resolution and our beliefs as a Senate. And this is how we can take action from our words. So I think this is an amazing first step into the right path. Yeah, I yield.
Thank you. So with that, we'll move into a roll call vote. A yes means that you want this resolution to pass, so on and so forth. So
Can I motion to have a placard vote?
Is there a point of information?
As author, Chair Chapman has decided to prefer a roll call vote based on how this conversation went.
Okay. So what was that? What was that motion again? That was for a placard vote?
Yes.
Okay, so with author's rights, that supersedes. So we're gonna do a roll call. The clerk will call the roll. Okay, so before we continue, we're voting on whether this resolution should be passed. Yes indicates that you support this resolution, no indicates you do not, and abstention means neither.
And associates do not vote unless you're voting in the place of the senator. At which point you can just say associate for, not associate for the senator's name, just associate for and say your vote.
Actually, I'd rather
Actually, if you would say your senator's name for accountability, just so like, if I hear the senator's name twice, I'm just like, hey, no.
Point of information, associate senators can also vote if there's an absent seat in their council or college, which would mean that they would not actually have a senator to vote for. According to section 8 subsection G of the bylaws.
Yeah, and that's if like a seat is vacated. So we'll go into the roll call vote then.
Ascsu Bukhari,
Yay.
Senator Abudani,
She's not here.
Associate Senator Aslam,
I'm an associate senator.
Good answer.
Associate Senator Barton,
Voting for Senator Thompson, yes.
Senator Bildum,
Yes.
Senator Bouchara,
Yes.
Senator Cordero,
Yes.
Senator Correa,
Aye.
Senator Denson,
Yes.
Senator Doyle,
Yes.
Senator Epperson,
Yes.
Senator Gazer, Senator Johnson,
Yes.
Senator Wise,
Yes.
Senator Kilburn,
Yes.
Senator Kramer,
Yes.
Senator McCall,
Yes.
Senator Malka,
Yes.
Senator Nguyen,
Yes.
Senator Carrizo,
Yes.
Senator Reese,
Yes.
Chair Rencher,
Yes.
Senator Salazar,
Yes.
Senator Sanchez,
Yes.
Senator Schumer, or Associate Senator Schumer,
Yes.
Senator Shetty,
Yes.
Senator Taylor,
I abstain.
Chair Trout,
Aye.
Senator Vega,
Yes.
Senator Parker, Associate Senator Deeds,
I abstain in place of Senator Gottschalk.
Senator Ayala, aye. Senator Hill,
Yes.
Senator Ritter,
Yes.
Senator Schmidt,
Yes.
Senator McHale,
Yes.
Senator Morgan,
Yes.
Senator Jacobs,
Yes.
Senator Daniel Joe,
Point of order, I was skipped. Chair AB, yes.
Is there anyone else that was missed?
With a vote of 33 in the affirmative and 2 abstentions, this resolution passes. We'll now move into ending roll call, but as a
Motion to use the previous roll call vote as ending roll call.
so it's been motioned to use a beginning roll call as ending roll call. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of using beginning roll call as ending roll call, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Aye. All right, this motion passes. So here's the change in the agenda. There's ending roll call, but after ending roll call are caucus reports. So if you want to stick around for that, you are more than welcome to and encouraged to. It shouldn't be too long. Well, I guess we'll move on to caucus reports. Does the Women's Caucus have a report?
No, I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Does the Constitution Caucus have a report?
Before all of y'all leave, we have Constitution Caucus tomorrow at 4. That's all I have.
Yep, you'll get some. And then DNI Caucus, do you have a report?
I do not.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to committee reports. Internal, do you have a report?
External Affairs Committee runs Mondays at noon. I yield.
Budgetary, do you have a report?
Yes, and there has been a change to the budgetary committee time. It is Thursdays at 5, since that's the only time that really worked for everyone. So please come, we'll be looking at our bylaws and officially approving them. We've looked at them before. And also discussing a funds tracker, which if you come to committee, you'll learn what that is going to be. And that is it.
Thank you, Chair Rencher. Chair Trout.
Good evening, y'all. I hope you're doing well. I'll keep it short. First, it's really great to be back in person and seeing all of y'all in person. I really have missed being in person over the past 2 weeks. Woo! First, I'd like to thank everyone who came to the sexual harassment training we hosted earlier and stayed through it all. We in Senate leadership truly do appreciate that. On Monday, we went over committee bylaws as well as like 5203, which we will be seeing next week on the floor. Mr. Speaker, just a point of information. We have not sent anything to University Affairs. I don't believe we have, but
as far as legislation is concerned?
Correct.
I don't believe so. Everything thus far that's internal has been sent to the relevant committees, so budgetary and of course internal. So write up some pieces of legislation. So
please,
University Affairs can go over.
So in that case, since we do not have any legislation, we will not have committee on Monday since there's nothing to do on that Monday. I will still be in the office at that point because I've already promised that timeline. So if you want to talk to me about anything, please let me know, whether that's about committee or anything in general. I like to think I'm a pretty useful resource on that regard. Enjoy your Monday off is basically what I have to say. Thank you for your ears. I yield.
Thank you. We'll move on to legislative officer reports. Speaker Pro Tempore Pacesetter.
Hi, if everyone is on the Slack and if you aren't already, come and see me. I have just sent out a link that should only take y'all about 2 to 3 minutes to fill out, which is to meet with me. It's bi-weekly. It should only take about 15 to 20 minutes. And it's more for accountability and for workshopping anything you want to work on. That will be due this Friday by 11:59 because I have a very busy schedule and I would love to see all your faces. And that is all I have. If any of those times in there don't work for you, please let me know. And other than that, I'm good.
Thank you. Parliamentarian Sonara Carr, do you have a report?
I don't have anything to report this time. I use my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Officer Bukhari, do you have a report?
Of course. Hey guys, thanks for staying. I mean, I missed like half of you all left. But just to update, we have like the biggest Senate session ever, so like or I think ever. So give yourselves a pat on the back for being here. Just to update, I'm working at the front desk and we're trying to get so you know, if you're on the ACSU website, there's like that members list. I'm updating that weekly with like new people. So if you're new here, see your faces, you'll be on that list as soon as possible. And just a reminder, culture centers and SDBS offices can have 2 senators or associate senators. Colleges that's more dependent on your population will contact you from that point on. And just a reminder, if you could also tell like your DLCs or your culture centers to send like a list of your senators that you've approved, because we also have to approve them as well. I know this was stated last session, but I want to reiterate because we have more population now. Because folks that are in the space have to be approved academically by the university and pass a background check to be here to ensure, you know, proper representation. But that's all. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to email the front desk or my email. That's ASCSU_Senate membership or Senate_membership@colestate.edu. But that's all. I yield.
Thank you, Officer Bukhari. I just have a couple of things. The first thing that's coming up, I know some of you had expressed interest in seeing Attorney General Phil Weiser on Friday. That's going to happen at 1:30. It's going to be in the Horsetooth Room. The person who's kind of coordinating all that is former President Christian Dixon. So if you are interested, let me know, and then I'll send your information on over to him. I believe what he's going to do is just send out a mass email with maybe the agenda and the other information. Essentially, what's going to be talked about is really just civic engagement, but of course, he is the Attorney General, so if you have a question about crime, he can answer it. Further, next Wednesday, I will have a meeting with Angie Piccioni. She's the Director of Higher Ed in Jared Polis's cabinet. It's going to be with a couple more people in leadership capacities across universities from Colorado. So I'll update you as far as how that goes. I just want to express my gratitude to not only all of you that stayed, but all of you who have kind of made this leap of faith in joining student government. I really want to do some great things this year. In the same breath, I kind of want to kind of gauge your thoughts on having maybe not necessarily a Senate session, but maybe kind of a brainstorming exercise where we all get together one day and we talk about maybe some big ideas or projects that we want to work on or see to fruition, so that we could really hit the ground running on some of those things and produce some actual results for the students that we represent. Just throwing that out there. I think that's all I have. I'll go ahead and move on to Senator and Associate Senator reports. Chair Trout.
Hi, y'all. For those who are new to this space, I typically give updates on events going on at the University Center of the Arts, which is across the street from college, just because they don't get as much love as I think they should. And additionally, I work at Off-Campus Life, and so I'm going to be promoting a lot of the things that Off-Campus Life does. So if you have any questions about any of those, please let me know. Just a couple of things. It is a little long, so I do apologize for that. Again, Symphony Orchestra will be having their concerts on the 22nd and 23rd at 7:30, as well as the Wolves will be doing their performance, or I'm sorry, the theater department will be doing a performance on the Wolves from September 29th to October 22nd. Those those times and whatnot are on the website. The Wolves is completely free. It's on the west lawn of Laurie Student Center, which is really interesting. I'm really excited to see that. Remember, if you are a CSU student, you get tickets for free. So do that. Additionally, the Jazz Ensemble will also have a concert on September 29th at 7:30 p.m. So go support them. Additionally, Off-Campus Life is looking for volunteers for their fall cleanup project. I did send this all to ASCSU department heads, which is legislative branch leadership, executive branch leadership, and judicial leadership. Would love to meet with y'all to talk about it. But those who do not know it, this project is aimed at assisting elderly and or physically limited neighbors in the Fort Collins area with outdoor yard work that they cannot complete themselves or they cannot afford to pay someone to do. This program helps to facilitate positive relationships between the long-term residents in Fort Collins and CSU students and staff, while also helping the neighbors to maintain their properties and get their homes ready for the fall/winter season. All the people that I've talked to over working with the past week have been the sweetest and most absolutely thankful people in the whole wide world. It's some of them are excitingly looking forward to having students clean up their yard. So I just think that shows a really great impact that we do. Not only do I think this is a great way to get our organization out more in the Fort Collins area, but a great way to give back to your community. It is by organization, so it can either be ASCSU as a whole or a friendly competition between the branches. If that's the case, please make some kind of announcement to me or to anyone. I don't really know. I just need to know that information so I can sign y'all up. We do need a minimum of 6 volunteers for each group, so please keep that in mind. And registration ends October 14th. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about that, let me know. And you can only sign up for one group. I know members of LADLC have signed up for it. If you're signing up for LADLC, you cannot sign up for ASCSU. Thank you again for your ears. Have a great, wonderful rest of your Wednesday night. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Grant.
Hey, y'all. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our new parliamentarian, Women's Caucus Chair, and DNI. He did, but congratulations to all of y'all. So I just wanted to give y'all an update. Last year I wrote a bill so basically a collaboration between RAM, right, and left, and that's different from what President Long just spoke about today. It had to do with connecting folks to the health center if they did have an appointment to and fro. So basically, if they had to go to the health center and have an appointment, they wouldn't have to really spend money on a cab ride. And that was a bill that Senate passed last year. And it has finally come to fruition. So there are folks that are able to access these spaces without really having to shell money from their pockets. So I know we've been working a lot on internal stuff right here, but for all the new senators and associate senators, just want to let y'all know that as time passes, we will be bringing pieces of legislation that are actually going to impact students on campus. So stay tuned. Thank you. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sanchez.
Hey guys, tomorrow is Sabores Latinx at Braden Hall. There's gonna be yummy food and entertainment, 5 to 8 p.m. Be there. Thanks.
Ooh, are there any other senator or associate senator reports? Senator Hill.
Yeah, sorry, my laptop just disappeared on me. It was paper. Yes, last year I've been, I successfully passed, or along with former Director of Housing Security, Benton Rosler, a bill to put bike security, fund 6,000, give 6,000 for ULOC stretch to everyone this year, and put some security cameras and signages to protect one's stolen bikes, which I hope to have significantly reduced bike theft all over campus, and research from the CCPD said it should help by 60% save students money on such things, on loss of bike damage, if you will. And I'm I'm considering reaching out to the CSU PD and getting data and see how it is going, and if those cameras are working, that myself and former director Rosler put up. And so, and then if it's going well, then I may consider writing a bill to expand if it is feasible and the data shows it's good too. We must just fight bike theft and make sure that those who are stealing bikes, since that's the #1 highest rate crime on campus, are held accountable. I will continue to do such measures my last year here in the SCSU. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator Bukhari.
this is unrelated, but it is the 21st night of September. If you don't know what that means, there's a song by Earth, Wind, and Fire. I do encourage you guys to turn up tonight. But that is all. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll go and,
Also completely unrelated, registration for co-ed, open, and women's softball just started. So if anyone wants to be on a softball team with me, I need people. So come to me if you would like to join my softball team.
thank you. Again, anyone interested in coming to the AG Weisler meeting on Friday, come talk to me after we adjourn. But with that, see y'all later.
Oh, if anyone isn't on the slide.